Guys, single again. How are you? Tired of seeing my face today? I hope not. We're here with TGI Sports Talks College. How about Major League Baseball updates? It's been a couple weeks since we've been here. We've been in the Caribbean. We got a bad earache right now. We're trying to do some work while we're doing this. Still trying to find a home for this show as far as time goes. We'll start doing, as I mentioned a minute ago on the Let's Talk New York Sports show. Dan Harris, my co-host there. I'm his co-host, I should say. It's his show. We'll be back, and we may have to adjust the time on that. And I may adjust the time on this because Fridays, man, are getting busy. So anyway, I hope a few people join us here today. We'll talk I want to talk some Major League Baseball stuff. We're going to talk about Tim McCarver a little bit. We're going to talk about the WBC, and then we'll talk about some news and notes around baseball and just some of my thoughts. You know, watch my vlog about the new rules. Oh, God. Please watch. I think I set it for 6 o'clock tonight. I don't know. You'll see it pop up, but I'm not going to get into it too much here. But please stop at Major League Baseball. I'm not going to go into this because, again, you can watch me rant for about 13 minutes on the vlog, but it's got to stop. You know what I want to talk about? I want to start with Tim McCarver. Tim McCarver passed away while I was on vacation, I guess a week or so ago, maybe a little more than that now. Tim McCarver, I don't know. I guess it was probably the Joe Buck pairing that probably got people maybe a little down on Tim McCarver late in his career. I thought Tim McCarver was probably the best, along with Tony Kubek and Jim Cott. The best Major League Baseball analyst ever. Tim McCarver was a great player, great catcher with the Cardinals. I think he broke in at like 19 years old, catching Bob Gibson. Played for two World Series champions with the Cardinals. Later on, he moved on to the Phillies, and he was a personal catcher basically for Steve Carl. And after his playing career, he did a lot of local teams. He worked for the Expos. He was actually rumored to have been, he was offered the job of managing the Expos at one point, and he turned it down. But he was an analyst there. He was with the Mets. He was with the Yankees. And he did a great job once he moved into the national spotlight as well, with first CBS, and then after that, Fox. He worked with the great late Jack Buck. Then he worked with Joe Buck. Then he worked with somebody in between. I feel like he worked with somebody in between. He worked on ABC. I forgot about that. He started with ABC, actually, doing Monday night broadcasts, too. He had to work with Howard Cosell some, but he worked with Al Michaels. Did a great job with Al Michaels. Al Michaels and Tim McCarver did a great job doing baseball. And when I watched and listened to Tim McCarver, similar to when I watched Bobby Mercer. Bobby Mercer, listen, he was a lot of fun to listen to. He wasn't the announcer that Tim McCarver was, the analyst that Tim McCarver was. But I felt a little bit the same way that I was sitting at a bar room watching a game, having a beer. And I miss guys like Tim McCarver, to be honest with you. They didn't just talk to hear themselves talk. They talked when there was something to say. They didn't tell me the obvious. They didn't speak in riddles. They didn't make up their own words. Oh, man. Tim McCarver and his like are probably never to be seen again. Now, I'll miss Tim McCarver a lot. I've missed him since he's been off the air. He's 81 years old when he passed. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. And we hope Tim rests in peace. Again, great player, better announcer. As I said, I'll leave it. I started here. I think him, along with Tony Kubek and Jim Cott, are the best baseball analysts by far that I've heard in my lifetime, my 63 years on this planet. So anyway, what's going on in the world of baseball? We're getting close, by the way, to the WBC, which starts off. When does it start? We're going to start off March 8th. March 8th, we'll be playing in, Taiwan. March 9th through the 13th, they'll be in Tokyo. March 11th through the 15th, we have Phoenix, and then Miami, the same dates. The teams that will play in these areas, this is Pool A in Taiwan, will be Chinese Taipei, Cuba, Italy, Netherlands, Panama. Pool B, which is in Tokyo, Australia, China, Japan, Korea, and the Czech Republic. Not a name I expected to see there. Pool C, which is in Phoenix, will be Canada, Colombia, Mexico, US, the USA. That's not two teams, that's the same one. And Great Britain. And in Pool D, played in Miami, the Dominican Republic, Israel, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. Quite. I love the WBC. I don't know. The timing is always bad because, these guys have just started spring training and you're taken away from their teams for 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever it is. But I'm excited for this. I mean, USA's, I believe, defending their championship, right? Let's see. Does it say here? I know. I'm pretty sure that COVID canceled like the last round of this, and I think I'm pretty sure. Wow, there's prize money involved too. I didn't realize that. Qualify for the WC, $300,000. So anyway, there's some money involved here. The USA's got a pretty good team here, I think. Let's take a look at the USA roster, shall we? The pitchers. Pitchers might be a little shaky. Position players really, really good. Jason Adam from the Devil Rays. Oh, God, just the Rays. Can't say Devil because I'm offending people. Daniel Bard from the Rockies. Nice pitcher. David Bednar from the Pirates. Kyle Freeland from the Rockies. Kendall Graveman from the White Sox. Merrill Kelly from the Diamondbacks. Lance Lynn, maybe the oldest guy on this team, from the White Sox. Nick Martinez from the Padres. Miles McCollis from the Cardinals. Adam Ottavino from the Mets. Ryan Presley from the Astros. Nice relief pitcher. Brooks Raley from the Mets. Brady Singer from the Royals. Adam Wainwright, sorry, he's the oldest guy in his team, from the Cardinals. And Devin Williams from the Brewers. I think starting pitching will be a little weak, but starting pitching is as important as you think here. As you notice by these pitchers, they're not going to go deep into these games because, again, they're just starting their preseason, really. The catchers, Kyle Hishikawa from the Yankees, JT Realmuto from the Phillies, and Will Smith from the Dodgers. I don't think Higgy's going to get a lot of playing time. The infielders, pretty good lineup here. Pete Alonso from the Mets, Tim Anderson from the White Sox, Nolan Ariendo from the Cardinals, Pete Goldschmidt from the Cardinals, Jeff McNeil from the Mets, Trey Turner from the Phillies, and Bobby Witt Jr. from the Royals. The outfielders might be better than the infielders. Mookie Betts for the Dodgers, Cedric Mullins from the surprising Orioles, Kyle Schwarber from the Phillies, Mike Trout from the Angels, Kyle Tucker, the underrated Kyle Tucker from the Astros. This is a really good team. We'll see. I think we'll see what's going to happen here. Pitching is going to determine this. If they can pitch, they could have a chance at winning. They're going to open up on March 11th against Great Britain. That game will be on Fox. They're going to play March 12th against Mexico. They're go at 10 o'clock, FS1. They'll play Canada on the 13th, and on the 15th, they'll play Colombia. All those games are on FS1 or Fox. And then if they move on to the quarterfinals, we'll see. That'll be March 17th. The semifinals are March 19th and 20th. And the championship game is March 21st. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited for this. I like the WCBC a lot. I really do. How many teams are on here? Let's see. I want to see something here. So, pitchers limits. By the way, pitchers can only pitch 65-inch pitches per game in pool play, 80 pitches in the quarterfinals, 95 pitches in the championship round. Minimum of 4 days rest after 50 days. So there's some rules here to kind of protect the pitchers a little bit. Make sure the managers don't misuse them. And Mark DeRosa, by the way, I didn't mention, is the manager of the USA squad. Who moves on? Top 4 teams in each pool were given automatic berth. Who moves on? How many teams move on here? Quarterfinals. So it's going to be 8 teams move on from these first bunch of pools. I think that'll be a lot. I think it'll be a lot of fun. What else is going on in Major League Baseball? How do I have a scoreboard? I talked again today about the rules. Guys, if you are upset about the rules, or you think people like me are upset about the rules or off their rocker, watch my vlog. I think I said it for 6 o'clock tonight. I just don't get it. I really don't. Let's look at a little bit of news. Fernando Tatis to be eased back into play, mostly in the outfield. No surprise there. He didn't play the entire 2022 season. And he had 3 surgeries he endured during the middle of that season, plus a suspension for PEDs. He won't be the shortstop as they sign Xander Bogaerts. He's probably going to focus on getting acclimated to right field, where he figures to spend most of his time in 2023. I'm not sure. Can he play? He still has 20 games remaining on his suspension, so he will not play the first 20 games of the regular season. I also think this Padres team, by the way, and maybe I'll jump into this in a little bit, I think there's the most pressure on the Padres in the National League of any team. Blue Jays in the American League, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But this Padres team, they put together a bunch of superstars, and now they're going to expect them to be a cohesive unit. And I guarantee you, Tatis is going to be unhappy very soon when he finds out he'll be the 4th highest paid player on his team. He already knows this. Once Soto gets paid, and who's the leader on this team? To me, it's got to be Soto. Manny doesn't want to leave. Manny's already making noise about getting out of the town if they don't win. Tatis can't lead. So I'm not sure what's going to happen here, and I'm not sure where he's going to play, and I'm not sure what we can expect out of Fernando Tatis when he returns after missing an entire year, enduring 3 surgeries, and being suspended the first 20 games of the season. I think the Padres are one of the teams to watch out for being a big flop. You guys who hate LA, LA is the champion of that Western Division until they are not. They're still the best team in that division. Maybe not on paper anymore, but you're going to have to beat them. And all you guys, and I know Mark Mancini, I know that you're one of those guys who want to jump on the San Diego bandwagon. Tell me about all the World Series they've won. I can't count low enough. The Astros, Lance McCullers Jr., very talented pitcher. He will not be ready for the start of the season. He was sidelined for the first 4.5 months last year while rehabbing a right flexor pronator strain, which who the hell knows what the hell that is. He did have some issues after throwing a bullpen session, but he had an MRI, no structural damage, but he does think he's going to be. Actually, he said being ready for opening day would be out of the question. So the good news is, this is a team loaded with pitching, and McCullers had he missed the 2019 season after having Tommy John surgery. He pitched very well before that. Then in 2021, he came back and he was 13-5. Then he got injured in that postseason. So he's had an injury history and not a good start with the 2023 season for McCullers. And speaking of injuries, shockingly, where's Alan? Shockingly, Jacob deGrom starts out spring training hurt. He had tightness in his left side, didn't throw for a few days. Now he threw like 20 pitches, all of them fastballs, and he was told to keep it easy. But he had no pain and small step. Listen, you're going to find out this 5-year, $185 million contract that deGrom signed is going to be an albatross for the Rangers. All you Ranger fans who think this is the move that puts you over the top, I'm not seeing it. I mean, where? Why? Why do you think this? Somebody tell me. I got to look at this again. Now, last year, this team had the lowest on-base percentage in baseball. In baseball. Where are they better? deGrom, let's just assume deGrom. I'll even give you deGrom pitching 25 starts, which is a long shot. It's probably going to be like 15. But are we excited by the rest of this rotation? Nathan Eovaldi? Andrew Heaney? I heard Ranger fans getting all worked up over Andrew Heaney. What's he ever done in his career? John Gray's a nice pitcher, but he's the fourth pitcher in this staff. Oh, my God. It's just, I mean, what's Andrew Heaney ever done? Let's take a quick look at Andrew Heaney's. Let's see. He won 6 games in 2015. Whoa. He went 9-10 with a 4.15 ERA in 2018. 6-7 with a 5.27 ERA just a couple years ago. Last year, he had a 3.10 ERA, which was his only claim to fame. He won 4 games. Just excuse me if I don't understand, okay? Because I don't understand. Oh, God. Why would you think this team's going to be better? Oh, I started to look at something else. Let me get back to where it was. Did I lose it? No, I didn't. I want to look at the rest of this roster. Got all excited about Andrew Heaney. John Gray, Martin Perez. Martin Perez had a great year last year. Rangers should have traded him in the middle of the season, by the way, and got some value for him. Then they could have re-signed him as a free agent. Why teams don't do this, I don't understand. They knew he was going to go to free agency. Why am I excited about this bullpen? I know Jonathan, catcher Jonah Heim, people are high on. I'm not. My gosh, let's look at the pitching. Let me look at the rest of the pitching stats here. Where am I? Oh, God. Let's look at Martin Perez had a really good season. Dan Dunning, John Gray, 7-7, 3.96 ERA. Jose, here's your closer. Had a 2.83 ERA. All right, I'll give you that. But you got to be ahead in games to be able to win them. You know, and if the pitching isn't bad enough, The batting is horrible. You got 3 guys on this team, 4 guys. I really like Adonis Garcia. I like him a lot. 27 homers, 101 RBIs. Marcus Semien, 248, 304 on base percentage. The overall on base percentage for this team is atrocious. It's barely 300. You can't win games. Their OPS 696. That's not good enough, especially when you got 4, 3. I'll give you 4 if you want to say Nathaniel Lowe. But I give you Semien, Garcia, Seager, and even Lowe above average offensive players. After that, you're excited about Jonah Heim? Why? Because he hit 16 home runs? He also had 227, and his on-base percentage was 298. His slugging percentage is 399 with 16 home runs. This team's a mess. This team will be one of the most disappointing teams in baseball if people are high on this team. I'll tell you right now. Speaking of WBC games, masks will still be needed for the games in Japan because of the COVID outbreak that is still fairly big there. Tampa Bay reliever Ryan Thompson is very upset. He wants more transparency in the arbitration process after losing his case last week. He doesn't believe that the process is designed for fairness. It's designed and jury rigged for the owners. We'll see. Bryce Harper, who is not reporting to Phillies camp for a couple of weeks yet, as he recovers from elbow surgery, which I think will keep him from playing in the field the first few games of the season, or maybe a few months of the season. We'll see. But he'll be in town soon. And let's see, Ferguson Jenkins, his hometown of Chatham, Ontario, will unveil a 9-foot. I didn't know he was that tall. Anyway, honor the Hall of Famer with a statue. And I'm not making fun of Fergie Jenkins. Great pitcher. He's a guy that I want to get on my interview show. And by the way, for you baseball fans, Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports has been working very hard behind the scenes. I want to get back into doing interviews. If you watched me early on in my podcasting career 3 years ago, I started out doing interviews with former major league players and major league or football players as well, mostly Major League Baseball players. So we're going to do interviews this month or next month with Jim Kern, former Ranger and Indian, Jim Sundberg, former Ranger and Royal, won a World Series with the Royals in '85. Can't wait to talk to him about Don Denkinger and that call. I'm okay with the fact that he blows his call. I'm sure he is as well. That's really all it affects. Baseball, actually, I'll have comedian Tom Dressen as well, is a huge Cubs fan. 83 years old, still out there touring, opened for years for Sinatra, a regular in a Tonight Show with Johnny Carson years ago. Huge Cubs fan. And I can't wait to talk with Tom Dressen about his career and his fandom. I think it'll be a lot of fun. Let's see. What else we got going on in Major League Baseball that I've missed here? Song. Oh, Mets. Oh, this is an interesting one here. Former Mets pitching coach Phil Reagan files an age discrimination lawsuit against the team. Man, why is everything? We're such a litigious society. He claims that he was not retained as the Mets pitching coach following an interim stint. By the way, he wasn't hired to do anything more than fill in. He was only let go solely because they wanted someone younger than the 82 years old he was at the time. I don't think he's going to have much of a chance in this suit. Just saying. Sorry, Phil. Phil Reagan was a nice pitcher for quite a few teams during his career as well. Rob Manfred and the new rules. I don't want to get into it again. Watch my vlog. Should debut tonight at 6, I think. Keith's head explodes again. Let me talk a little bit about, we're starting spring training. Some of these teams are going to have very, very high expectations. Some are going to be lower than others. And I'm going to wrap it up with this today. We've got a small crowd, and I'm going to go through some of these teams that I think are going to be better than expected, maybe worse than expected. And I will do, probably near the end of March, we'll do our Major League Baseball preview show that I do with Drew Ehrlich, local baseball aficionado, and we'll do our normal show. We've had great reception in the last couple of years to the show, so I can't wait to do it. It's a lot of fun to do, and we should have recapped last year's show, but we didn't, so nobody knows how bad our touts were. The teams that there's some teams that are expected to be good that I think need to be careful. One of them, the Yankees, my Yankees. I'm worried about the pitching. Frankie Montas had surgery, originally expected to be out the whole year. Now it's going to be, maybe he'll be back for the second half. I wouldn't count on him at all. Carlos Rondon, who they signed to a big free agent contract this year. I'm a little concerned about his ability to deal with New York City, number one, as he didn't deal with Chicago very well when he was there. I know San Francisco is a big city, but it's not like New York, press-wise, or even fan-wise. And he's got an injury history with the White Sox. We never know, and I love Luis Severino, but we don't know whether he'll break down again, and they may have to rely on some of the kids, like Clark Schmidt. I'd like to see Clark Schmidt get a shot. And, they got an infusion of youth with Velope and with Peraza. One of them should stick and probably be the starting shortstop. Maybe both of them stick and play short and second, and Torres gets traded for some pitching, or maybe even better than pitching, a left fielder or a third baseman. Because Aaron Hicks and Donaldson cannot continue to play. Is this team better than it was last year at this point? Will they be able to manufacture runs against elite pitchers when they're not able to hit home runs? That's still debatable. Are they better? Yeah. They didn't have Harrison Bader for the whole year last year. They had him for a few games in September in the playoffs. And you saw how he played in the playoffs. I really believe that an Andrew Benintendi type would have been perfect. The Yankees should have gone the extra year and signed Benintendi. He would have been perfect in that outfield with Bader and Judge. Plus, he can play a little small ball, him and Bader. But I'm worried about the Yankees for that reason. Toronto. I think Toronto's World Series are bust this year, guys. They continued bringing big names, pay big money. They've yet to make a World Series. I think Schneider, after the Blue Jays blew that series they blew last year with an 8-run lead, I think it's very much a lot of pressure on him and this organization to get to the World Series this year. And they better not get off to a bad start, because he's got Don Mattingly sitting right next to him as a bench coach. And if this team doesn't make the World Series, I think it's possible the management team and even the roster gets blown up. So the Padres I've already talked about. I do think that there's very high expectations, obviously, for this team. And I'm not so sure that they're not going to implode at some point. Teams to watch out for. Let's see. Wait a minute. What other team? Oh, the Phillies are another team I think could underperform this year. Still a bad defense. Still some pitching questions after Wheeler and Nola. Starting pitching. I love Rob Thompson. Glad he's getting his shot. Glad he got his shot last year. Glad he got that team to the World Series and got the full-time gig. I worry about that defense still. Bryce Harper's arm still, because he's a good defensive player. They don't have a lot of good defensive players. The Cubs. Why do the Cub fans, and I can't wait, I hope, I really hope my interview happens with Tom Dressen Tuesday night, because I want to talk to him. As a Cub fan, is he excited for this roster? There's Tom. There you got back to me. So we're good for Tom Dressen Tuesday. It won't be live. I'm going to record the interview. He's a big Cub fan. I want to know what he thinks about this remake, because I can't get excited about this team. Maybe a Cub fan can, and we'll find out, because I got a lifelong Cub fan. And I want to know if he thinks that bringing in Eric Hosmer to play first base, Cody Bellinger to play center field, Trey Mancini to be the DH, Tucker Barnhart to be the catcher, and Marcus Stroman's my number one pitcher, followed by Jamison Taillon. Am I excited about that? I think they did a good thing keeping Ian Happ, but if they don't get off to a great start, he'll be trade bait. Dansby Swanson, nice player. I just can't see this team being a contender. The pitching staff is not good. Well, I'm excited to talk to Tom Dressen about that. Other Cub fans, I hope you'll let me know whether you're interested or excited or dumbfounded as I am. Ay, ay, ay. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. You know me. I'll admit when I'm wrong. I picked the Brewers to win the World Series last year, which I'll talk about in a second. And I guess Giant fans, I wouldn't be too excited either. I know you won 107 games 2 years ago, fell on your face this past year. I see it happening again this year. You have done nothing except bring in retreads. I mean, they've tried the same formula 3 years in a row. One year it worked. The next year it was a disaster. They're going to try to get away with it again. Anyway. How about teams that I think will overachieve maybe? I think the Orioles will be better than we think. We'll see that last year was not an aberration, the way they came back. They started atrociously, got themselves into the middle of the wild card hunt. I still think they're a couple players away, but I think they'll be a competitive team and maybe in the hunt for that last wild card spot. I don't know if I like anybody in the Central. I mean, the Central's terrible. Cleveland will probably win the division again, but by attrition. Out west, I don't see any surprises there because you already know how I feel about the Rangers. The Athletics are terrible. Mariners might be the team to watch out for. If the Astros are going to get dethroned in the West, it's definitely going to be the Mariners. And maybe if they're going to get dethroned in the American League, it might be the Mariners. It's a good baseball team. They've done a good job going about putting together this team. No surprises there. Well, here's a surprise. The team, it's funny. The team I picked to win the World Series last year is my team to surprise people this year and be better because they were so bad last year. The Milwaukee Brewers. They've improved their offense a little bit, not enough to really suit me, but that pitching staff is just so good that I think the Brewers, I love, Corbin Burns, Cy Young contender. Brandon Woodruff might be a contender himself. Freddie Peralta is a really good pitcher. You got to stay healthy. And I like Eric Lauer as well. Devin Williams has turned into a reliable pitcher. Can he handle a full-time closing job is still a question mark. Getting William Contreras to be the catcher and a big bat in that lineup is very important for them. Where else did they upgrade? The problem is, unless you think Jesse Winkler's a big upgrade at their DH, they didn't do a lot to upgrade their offense. They did get Luis Urias, so big deal. Right? Oh my God, they're going to need bounce back seasons from Willie Adames, and they need Christian Yelich to be something resembling Christian Yelich. These are just early preseason predictions. We'll get into these more depth later on. Anybody else? Out west, the Diamondbacks. I wouldn't sleep on the Diamondbacks. I like what they've done. I'm not sure. They got some good young players. I mean, Christian Walker had a great year last year. Kind of a bounce back year for him. Didn't hit for high average. His OPS was over 8, hit 36 homers, 94 RBIs. Dalton Varsho, I'm a little surprised they traded him away. But he goes off to Toronto. I still love Ketel Marte. There's also another kid I like here. Was it McCarthy? Jake McCarthy in the outfield. I like a lot. I like this kid a lot. I like Carson Kelly behind the plate. There's a lot of things to like about the young kids on this team. Are they ready to contend? No, but I think this team could make a leap to 500 and maybe even surprise people. When it comes to chasing down that last wild card, we'll see. But that's about all I got for today, guys. We'll get into other stuff as we go along. There'll be more news as we get closer to spring training, and you still got a few free agents out there. You still got some trades to come. We got the WCBC to talk about, probably starting, probably not next weekend, but the weekend after. And we'll get into all of that and be looking for the interviews that we just talked about. And they'll be starting with Mr. Tom Dreesen. Sorry. I don't know why I call him. Probably because of Charlie Dressen. I don't know why. But anyway, I appreciate you guys being back with me. I missed our time away. And Major League Baseball, real games. I'm not a big exhibition game guy. That's why I like the WBC, because they got some games that mean something to watch here for 2 weeks. And I'm excited to see those games start. And I'm excited because we're only a month away from real live Major League Baseball. As much as Rob Manfred would like to ruin the game, we're not going to let him do that.